Neutralization Theory by Gabriel Anaya, Crim 3030, Caserele 2020. The founders: Graham Sykes, an American sociologist and criminologist. Sykes focused on studying juvenile delinquency. David Matza, a former student of Graham Sykes, was also an American criminologist who focused on juvenile delinquency. In 1957, Sykes and Matza worked together and produced their first article, Techniques of Neutralization, a Theory of Delinquency. More than 60 years later, the neutralization theory is still cited in both social works and criminology. Deneutralization theory. Although focused primarily on juvenile offenders, deneutralization theory can be applied to juveniles and adults, as well as serious crimes such as murders and non-serious crimes like shoplifting. Helps us understand how offenders shift their values and neutralize their guilt. More than 60 years later, and yet this theory is still applicable in today's environment. Deneutralization theory. This theory is used primarily for sporadic criminals who drift in and out of crime, rather than those who display continuous recidivism. Neutralization theory argues delinquents know what type of behavior is wrongful or unacceptable. In order to deal with the negative repercussions of guilt, offenders neutralize negative feelings, justify their behaviors, and maintain their image. Justification is broken down into 5 different techniques, also known as neutralizations. The 5 neutralizations are denial of victim, condemnation of condemners, appeal to higher loyalties, denial of responsibility, and denial of injury. Denial of victim. The offender justifies the crime by implying the victim deserved the results. In one of my all-time favorite movies, Training Day, the character played by Denzel Washington justifies the killing of Roger, a known drug dealer. Roger sold dope to kids. The world is better without him. In scenarios such as these, the offender sees their actions as a result of the victim's provocation. The victim had it coming. Condemnation of the condemner. This form of neutralization is if the verse from the Bible, "He who is free without sin cast the first stone," or put to the nth power, to the point where blame is dismissed because the offender feels they are targeted unjustly or out of spite. The offender believes the condemner's behavior is just as bad as theirs. A perfect example of this is when a worker steals from his employer after his pay has been docked. Appeal to higher loyalties. The offender suggests that his offenses was for the greater good, with long-term consequences that would justify their actions, such as protecting a friend or family. Betraying an authority figure outweighs betraying a close relationship, such as a friend or family. In other words, loyalty is above law. Denial of responsibility. The offender sees themselves as the victim of circumstances pushed beyond control, shifts the responsibility from themselves to the situation. Offender sees themselves as a product of the environment. Who, me? Why can't you take responsibilities for your own actions? I blame my upbringing. Denial of injury. Since no injury occurred, the offender denies a real crime has occurred. In this technique, the offender does not recognize their actions as a crime. Example of this: "Hey Gabriel, give him back my guitar." "I don't know what you're talking about. You said you didn't even like the guitar your mom gave you." "If you think about it, I'm doing you a favor. Now your mom can go buy you a better guitar." Critiques of the neutralization theory. The neutralization theory never explains how neutralization techniques begin. Like any theory, the neutralization theory has those who criticize parts of it. A study concluded that delinquents are less likely to neutralize their guilt, but rather accept their own actions. Jack Douglas, a socialist, concluded that a deviant person learns certain strategies of deception. It is near impossible to cover up feelings of guilt or shame.